think about when I was younger and I couldn't fall asleep, I was told to count sheep. And I remember doing it. I remember um, picturing sheep jumping over a fence in my mind. And I'm seeing now, when I'm older, why that worked. It's because when we try to sleep, if we are having difficulty falling asleep, there's probably something going through the mind that we're clinging to that is keeping the mind active. When we are sleeping, when we're in a sleep state, the mind is operating, the brain waves are in a delta state, so they're less frequent and slower. If we're operating in daily life, the brain waves are in a beta state or a gamma state, and they're more active. So if we're lying down and we're trying to fall asleep, but the mind is very active, the brain waves are at a higher frequency, and there's more activity in the brain and in the body. When we meditate, in mindfulness meditation, the brain waves go into a theta state, which is closer to the delta state of sleeping. The frequency is slower. When we are asked to or told to count sheep, I think it's kind of like a distraction of whatever is occupying the mind. So let's say there's a big appointment coming up, or meeting, or test, or whatever. You're going into contract on a house, or you're getting married, or you're having a kid, whatever it is. If there's something that is actively keeping your mind engaged, it can cause the brain to continue to work as you're trying to fall asleep. And if you focus on sheep, just the idea of sheep over and over and over, it gives the mind something else to focus on besides this other thing that is keeping your mind active and engaged. So instead of thinking about that big meeting over and over, which could be re-triggering you and causing your body to release cortisol and put you in a fight or flight state over and over, if you focus on this other thing, like pictures of sheep, you're less triggered by that image than you are by the image or the thought of this other thing that is keeping you activated. So it gives the body a chance to sort of let go of this other thing that is re-triggering you and activating you. So a similar approach is to use meditation when you are trying to go to sleep. And what I mean by that is like taking some of your energy, some of your attention, awareness, and directing it to something like the breath. So it's pretty similar to watching sheep in your mind jump over a fence, or just counting sheep in your mind, or just counting in your mind. It's like bringing attention to the breath over and over. And what happens is when we focus on the breath, we take some of the attention away from this other thing that's keeping us active and engaged, and we just focus on the breath, and in that we are less activated and engaged. But so what I've noticed in myself and people that talk to me about their sleeping, if they have difficulty sleeping, is that they find themselves trying to fall asleep and trying to use techniques to fall asleep. And what happens is if you try to fall asleep, then that trying itself causes an increase in energy and just kind of keeps you awake. So if you try to fall asleep, it's just going to keep you awake. So then the thought becomes, okay, so let me not try to fall asleep. but then you're trying not to try. So there's sort of this conundrum of like, how can I not be exerting effort at all right now? And the solution that I found is to just bring awareness to the breathing, and not as an effort to fall asleep, not so like I'm going to bring attention to the breath so that I fall asleep. It's like I'm going to bring attention to the breath, period. And just rest the attention on the breath, period. Because as soon as we come to this place where we are trying to focus on the breath so that we fall asleep, that becomes effort. And that's something that could be active and engaging. So try this. The next time you are having difficulty falling asleep and you find that you're trying to fall asleep or trying not to try to fall asleep, and maybe you're in this activated pattern where you're just getting worked up and you tossing and turning, it's like try for a moment to just be still and focus on the breath over and over for no other purpose than to just focus on the breath and see what happens. Try it as an experiment.